Imagine you're a highway robber in 1875 when you stop a well-dressed gentleman carrying nothing but an elegant walking stick. You demand his valuables, but he casually twists his cane's handle, and suddenly you're staring down the barrel of a hidden pistol. You've just met a cane gun, a weapon so genius it turned gentlemen's accessories into deadly surprises. Old guns look simple and primitive. These look simple, but aren't simple. Not even remotely. Spring-loaded palm pistols with no triggers, chain-driven revolvers with horizontal cylinders, combination weapons that serve multiple deadly purposes. We're revealing 10 genius inventions from the Wild West that could turn everyday objects into instant death traps, starting with one that made outlaws fear every stranger with a cane, the pepperbox revolver. You're facing down what looks like a small cannon with 6 barrels arranged in a circle, and you're about to witness the pepperbox revolver in action. This .31 caliber monster was essentially 6 separate pistols fused together, each barrel loaded individually and fired in sequence as the entire barrel assembly rotated. Popular with riverboat gamblers and frontier merchants, the pepperbox was the weapon of choice for anyone who valued pure intimidation over surgical precision. The mechanism was brilliantly simple, yet terrifyingly effective. Each of the 6 barrels was individually loaded with powder, ball, and percussion cap. When you pulled the trigger, the barrel cluster rotated, bringing each loaded barrel into firing position. Some models could fire all 6 barrels in rapid succession, creating a thunderous barrage that sounded like a small artillery battery going off in your hands. Riverboat captains absolutely loved these weapons for dealing with unruly passengers and potential mutineers. The psychological effect was devastating. Imagine being on the wrong end of what appeared to be a handheld cannon. The weapon's compact design made it perfect for concealed carry, though concealed was relative when you were essentially packing 6 pistols strapped together in a rotating configuration. But the pepperbox had serious flaws that ultimately doomed it to historical curiosity. Accuracy was absolutely terrible, with no rifling in most barrels and the weight distribution completely thrown off by the rotating mechanism. Hitting anything beyond conversational distance was pure luck. The weapon was notoriously front-heavy and awkward to aim properly. Reloading was a nightmare that required individually charging 6 separate barrels, making it impractical for extended gunfights. But if you think multiple barrels were crazy, wait until you see what happened when someone combined a gun with everyday objects. The cane gun. You tip your hat to a well-dressed gentleman on the street, never realizing you're actually looking at one of the deadliest concealed weapons ever created. The cane gun was the perfect fusion of Victorian respectability and frontier violence. A walking stick that could transform into a lethal firearm with a simple twist of its ornate handle. Wealthy travelers and city folk venturing into frontier towns couldn't openly carry weapons without advertising their vulnerability, so they needed something more subtle. The firing mechanism was ingeniously elegant in its simplicity. You simply twisted the carved handle clockwise, activating a spring-loaded firing pin hidden within the shaft. No external trigger, no obvious barrel, no telltale signs that you were armed. Some versions featured compass tops, hidden compartments for gold dust, or secret storage for important documents. Picture this scenario. Highway bandits stop your stagecoach, demanding valuables from all passengers. While they're focused on your wallet and jewelry, you casually adjust your walking stick's position. Suddenly you're armed with a .22 or .32 caliber pistol that nobody saw coming. The surprise element was absolutely devastating. Most criminals never expected resistance from a well-dressed gentleman carrying what appeared to be a simple mobility aid. But this elegant weapon carried a fatal flaw that could mean the difference between life and death. You got exactly 1 shot, period. Miss your target in that crucial moment, and you were left wielding an expensive wooden club against men with 6 shooters. Reload time was measured in minutes, not seconds. By the time you fumbled with powder, ball, and percussion caps, you'd probably be bleeding out in the dirt. Speaking of hidden weapons, the next one took concealment to an absolutely insane level. The Colt Walker dragoon. You holster what feels like a cannon on your hip, realizing this isn't just a sidearm. It's a statement that some men refuse to be subtle about anything. The Colt Walker was an absolute monster among handguns, weighing nearly 5 pounds and stretching 15.5 inches overall with its massive 9-inch barrel. This .44 caliber beast was designed by Texas Ranger Captain Samuel Walker in 1847, and it remained the most powerful handgun in the world for an incredible 88 years until the .357 Magnum finally dethroned it in 1935. Texas Rangers reported that this mechanical masterpiece could drop a charging horse with a single well-placed shot and remain devastatingly effective against human targets at 100 yards. Walker himself proudly declared it was as effective as a common rifle at 100 yards and superior to a musket at 200 yards. The enormous cylinder could digest 60 grains of black powder per chamber, more than twice what normal revolvers could safely handle, generating muzzle energy that rivaled contemporary rifles. Rangers like Bigfoot Wallace carried pairs of these weapons and became legendary for their effectiveness in combat. The Walker saw action throughout the Mexican-American War, proving its worth in actual battlefield conditions. But all that devastating power came with serious practical compromises. The Walker was so absurdly heavy, it couldn't be worn on your hip like a normal sidearm. You needed special reinforced saddle holsters just to carry the thing without destroying your belt. The enormous powder charges sometimes cracked the cylinder under tremendous pressure, and the loading lever had a notorious habit of dropping during recoil, jamming the mechanism at the worst possible moment. From the biggest to the smallest, the next weapon proves that size definitely doesn't matter. The squeeze pistol. You squeeze your hand like you're making a fist, and thunder erupts from your fingertips. No trigger, no aim, just raw explosive will made manifest in your palm. The squeeze pistol was the ultimate concealment weapon of the 1870s, designed for situations where even the smallest conventional firearm would be too obvious. No visible trigger, no protruding hammer, no barrel you could identify, just a spring-loaded mechanism that responded to pressure alone. These tiny terrors were absolutely perfect for saloon girls, professional card players, and anyone who needed a lethal last resort when conventional weapons weren't practical. The most common versions fired .22 caliber rounds and were genuinely no larger than a deck of playing cards. Some ingenious models featured multiple barrels, giving you 2 or even 4 shots from something that could disappear completely in a lady's purse or a gambler's sleeve. The spring-loaded firing mechanism was surprisingly reliable for such a compact design, though effective range was measured in inches rather than yards. You literally had to be close enough to touch your target, but in saloon brawls and back alley confrontations, that wasn't necessarily a disadvantage. But here's the brutal reality that made these weapons so dangerous. If you missed your first squeeze, you were holding an expensive paperweight while your opponent drew a proper 6-shooter. The squeeze pistol represented the ultimate gambler's philosophy: high risk, high reward, and absolutely no second chances. It was perfect for desperate situations, but desperation was exactly when you needed your weapon to work flawlessly. But innovation wasn't just about size. Some genius decided to completely reimagine how guns should work. The chain lightning revolver. You witness a revolver that defies everything you thought you knew about firearms. Its cylinder spins horizontally like a mechanical prayer wheel, dispensing death through an intricate chain and gear system that looks like clockwork from a Swiss watch. The chain lightning revolver was a Belgian invention from the 1850s that completely reimagined how revolving mechanisms should work, creating something that belonged more in a mad scientist's laboratory than a gunfight. The horizontal cylinder rotated via an elaborate chain-driven system that was absolutely mesmerizing to watch in operation. Each chamber aligned with the barrel through mechanical precision that seemed almost supernatural for its era. When it worked properly, the action was surprisingly smooth, with each trigger pull advancing the chain mechanism to rotate the cylinder to the next chamber. The loading gate opened like an expensive pocket watch, revealing chambers that loaded from the side rather than the conventional rear approach. This mechanical marvel represented the cutting edge of firearms innovation, showcasing the kind of precision engineering that European gunsmiths could achieve when they really pushed the boundaries. Some versions featured elaborate engraving and premium materials, making them as much works of art as functional weapons. The unique design certainly attracted attention. Nobody could mistake a chain lightning for any other firearm. But mechanical genius came with devastating practical vulnerabilities that doomed this innovation to historical footnote status. The chain system was as delicate as a spider's web. One microscopic speck of frontier dust, one grain of sand in the wrong place, and your revolutionary weapon instantly became an ornate club. The intricate mechanism required the precision of a chronometer, but had to function in environments that would challenge a blacksmith's anvil. Speaking of completely reimagining weapons, wait until you hear about the gun that wasn't really a gun at all. The Lamat revolver. You grip a weapon that's part revolver, part shotgun, and completely devastating. The Lamat revolver that Confederate officers considered the ultimate cavalry sidearm. Dr. Jean-Alexandre Lamat designed this mechanical masterpiece in New Orleans in 1856, creating a 9-shot .42 caliber revolver with a 20-gauge shotgun barrel mounted directly underneath the main cylinder. Legendary Confederate cavalry officers like J.E.B. Stuart and General P. G.T. Beauregard made this their preferred sidearm for damn good reasons. Here's how this incredible weapon system worked in actual combat. You could fire 9 precise revolver rounds with deadly accuracy, then simply flip a small lever on the hammer and unleash absolute hell through the central shotgun barrel. Buckshot, grape shot, or a single devastating slug, the tactical choice was entirely yours depending on the situation. The psychological effect on Union forces was enormous. Imagine facing a cavalry charge where each Confederate officer essentially had 10 different ways to kill you. The revolver portion was perfect for precision work against individual targets, while the shotgun barrel could clear entire sections of battlefield with one thunderous blast. Some models even featured removable shoulder stocks, essentially creating the world's first tactical shotgun revolver combination weapon. The Lamat saw extensive action during major Civil War engagements, with officers reporting devastating effectiveness against both infantry formations and enemy cavalry units. The dual-barrel system allowed unprecedented tactical flexibility. You could engage multiple targets with the revolver, then switch to the shotgun for close-quarters devastation. But all that firepower came with significant practical drawbacks that limited its widespread adoption. The weapon weighed nearly 4 pounds when fully loaded, making it cumbersome even for mounted troops. Only about 2,900 were ever manufactured, mostly in European factories, and they had to be smuggled through the Union naval blockade. Today, original Lamats are among the most valuable Civil War firearms in existence. But even the Lamat seems normal compared to what's coming next. A weapon that redefined, multi-purpose, the duck's foot pistol. You draw what looks like a normal pistol until the barrel spread out like a duck's webbed foot, and suddenly you're holding a weapon designed to clear an entire room with one trigger pull. The duck's foot pistol featured 4 to 6 barrels that splayed outward at different angles, creating a devastating cone of destruction perfect for close-quarters crowd control. When you fired, multiple bullets spread across a wide arc, making it nearly impossible to miss, but absolutely useless for precision shooting. This weapon was originally designed for ship captains facing mutinous crews. One shot could theoretically stop multiple attackers simultaneously. The barrels typically spread across a 60 to 90-degree arc, essentially creating a handheld shotgun effect using individual bullets instead of shot pellets. Some versions featured up to 6 barrels, turning the weapon into a portable artillery piece that could engage multiple targets with a single trigger pull. Stagecoach guards and saloon owners particularly favored these weapons for their psychological impact and practical effectiveness. Drawing a duck's foot pistol in a crowded room instantly changed the dynamics. Everyone within that deadly arc knew they were potentially in the line of fire. The threat alone usually convinced troublemakers to reconsider their life choices rather than test whether you were serious about using it. The weapon typically used 31 or 36 caliber balls, with each barrel requiring individual loading with powder, wadding, and projectile, plus separate percussion caps. Total weight ranged from 2 to 4 pounds, depending on barrel configuration. Most were smoothbore designs, sacrificing accuracy for the intimidation factor of multiple simultaneous projectiles. Loading was tedious but straightforward, essentially like preparing 4 to 6 separate single-shot pistols simultaneously. The real challenge came after firing your volley. Miss with your spread pattern, and you faced a lengthy reload process while your enemies drew proper revolvers. And now, the weapon that changed everything, the one that earned a nickname you'll never forget. The Henry rifle. You cradle the weapon that revolutionized warfare itself. The Henry rifle that earned the most legendary nickname in military history. The gun you load on Sunday and shoot all week wasn't just clever marketing, it was literal truth that changed how battles were fought across the American frontier. While enemies struggled with single-shot muzzle loaders that required nearly a minute to reload, Henry rifle users could fire 16 devastating rounds as fast as they could work the smooth lever action. Benjamin Tyler Henry's 1860 design used revolutionary 44 rimfire cartridges in a brass magazine feeding system that seemed almost magical to contemporary observers. No ramrods, no powder measures, no percussion caps, no complicated loading procedures, just smooth, reliable firepower that appeared supernatural to enemies. Native American warriors respectfully called it the spirit gun because they couldn't comprehend how it fired continuously without visible reloading. The rifle featured a 24-inch barrel, weighed about 9 pounds, and maintained deadly accuracy at ranges exceeding 200 yards. The loading mechanism was brilliantly simple. Cartridges were inserted through a slot in the buttstock and fed forward through the magazine tube by spring pressure. You could reload the entire 16-round capacity in seconds, rather than the minutes required for traditional firearms. During Civil War battles, individual soldiers armed with Henry rifles could outshoot entire companies equipped with standard muzzle-loading muskets. Union units reported that single Henry-armed soldiers could hold defensive positions against dozens of Confederate attackers. The weapon was extremely expensive, costing more than 3 months' pay for most soldiers. But those who could afford them gained an absolutely enormous tactical advantage. The Henry didn't just win individual battles, it demonstrated conclusively that the future belonged to repeating firearms. It directly evolved into the legendary Winchester rifle that won the West, proving that some innovations really do change everything. But even the legendary Henry rifle couldn't prepare the West for the most insane weapon ever conceived. The punt gun. You shoulder what appears to be a naval cannon and realize you're not hunting birds. You're conducting an extinction event one trigger pull at a time. The punt gun was a massive 10-foot shotgun with a 2-inch bore that could instantly kill 50 ducks with a single thunderous blast. These artillery pieces weren't carried by individual hunters. They were mounted on specialized boats called punts and used for commercial waterfowl hunting that could feed entire frontier towns with one well-aimed shot. Market hunters on western lakes and rivers used these weapons to harvest enormous quantities of waterfowl for big city restaurants and markets. The punt gun could launch a full pound of shot across a quarter-mile of open water with devastating accuracy. The recoil was so tremendously powerful it required careful bracing and positioning. One miscalculation could capsize your boat, break your shoulder, or both simultaneously. These weapons required 2-man crews to operate effectively, one to aim and fire, another to handle the boat and manage the massive reloading process. The thunderous report could be heard for miles across the prairie, announcing to everyone within earshot that serious commercial hunting was taking place. Some punt guns were so large they used special wheeled carriages for transport and mounting. But their very success ultimately doomed them to obsolescence and legal prohibition. By 1900, federal and state laws systematically banned punt gun use to save whatever waterfowl population still remained after decades of commercial slaughter. These massive weapons represent American frontier excess at its absolute finest. Engineering solutions so devastatingly effective they had to be completely outlawed to prevent ecological disaster. Those weren't myths. Those were real weapons, built for shock, speed, and survival. If one blew your mind, drop it in the comments below. And if you want more wild history like this, hit that subscribe button and stay sharp. Because in the Wild West, even a cane could kill.